everybody, welcome back to another book talk video with me, Ann, Adult Services Librarian. Today I'm going to try something just a little bit different in that I'm going to share some opinions on books that I have read, but I've already taken back to the library. So we are a fine-free library now for most items, which is awesome, but I still like to get my books back on time just to keep them moving through the system. And P.S. don't forget to renew your items, even though we are fine free. It helps us keep track of where our books are, what we might need to buy more of if it's very popular, and it keeps you from getting late lost item notices. So anyway, here are some thoughts on some books that I've read. These are completely just my own opinions. I think we're all familiar with what an opinion is. And again, I'm sorry I don't have the books here to show you because I have already returned them to the library. So I read most of Luster by Raven Leilani. This was very popular a few months ago, and I can see why. I would be very interested to read what she comes out next. And this one I happened to not finish. I really like the writing style. The story was a little for me, but I don't think that's because it was a bad book. I think it was not the right book for me at that time. And the next book I highly recommend. So this was The Beauty in Breaking by Michelle Harper. This is a nonfiction memoir. I found it to be very moving, very excellent. It's written in like a series of little essays, vignettes of the author's life, and I zipped through this book. I didn't want to put it down. I always wanted to move on to find out what she would be talking about next. She is an African-American female ER doctor, and I think we can all imagine what kind of obstacles she has faced in medical school, life in general, being a woman in a male-dominated field, any number of things. I really enjoyed reading this book, and I recommend it. Again, it's Beauty in Breaking by Michelle Harper. So the next book is another book that I didn't finish, which I don't usually do, so it's weird that I have two in here that I didn't finish, but it's Welcome to the Pinewood Motel and Cabins. And I read about half of this book, and then my preschooler took out my bookmark, which, talk about knowing how to just stab your mother in the heart, but just kidding. It kind of gave me permission to just give up on the book because I hadn't been getting any more progress in it. I really liked how this started out. This book starts out about a woman who has been killed in a car accident and finds herself still in her hometown, still with her friends, still near her dad, wondering what she is to do in order to move on. How can she help these people? It's a very interesting look at small town life. This group of friends about 15 years after high school, some of them have left, some of them have never left town, and they're all coming back for her funeral, and then it kind of goes from there. Then it kind of delves pretty deeply into flashbacks to their high school time, and I liked both storylines. It was like a 400-page book, and it felt like two books mushed into one. So I would have liked either book, but together it just didn't quite work for me. And the storyline of her being a ghost really kind of disappeared by that time. And again, take my opinion for what it's worth. I didn't finish reading the book, so how can I really have a strong opinion on it? I didn't finish it. It's worth a shot, definitely, but you might want to be prepared for that transition in the middle of the book. Maybe it transitions back by the end. Again, I don't know. I didn't finish it. Gosh, what else do I have to read? Another book that I want to mention is The Lives of Edie Pritchard by Larry Watson. I really enjoyed this book, and I think a lot of you might enjoy it too. It is about a woman who, throughout her life, is kind of defined by how the men around her want to see her. And it's set from the 60s through just a few years ago. I don't really want to give anything away. I think it's a very well done, quiet book that still has a lot to say, and I think a lot of women might recognize the situations. I think, and of course a lot of men might too, and again, it's by Larry Watson, who lives in Wisconsin. He's written many books, but when I saw this one was coming out, I was like, oh, I'm gonna read that, and it was very enjoyable. So Again, The Lives of Edie Pritchard by Larry Watson. The last book I have to talk about today is A Declaration of the Rights of Magicians by H.G. Perry. I really enjoyed this book. I will say this book was a slow burn for me. It took me a little bit to get into it, and I'm very glad I stuck with it. It is, it's basically set during the French Revolution and the Terror of Robespierre and everything, but with a magical twist. It's like all that is happening, but magic is what's at play in the background. There's a lot of political intrigue. There's a lot of, I guess, magical intrigue. It also follows the French and British colonies in the Caribbean and the slave trade, and how that factors into everything that's going on. I'm not sure when the second book in this series publishes, but it does stop partway through the story. There is more book coming, so keep your eyes out for that one, and that is a good one that I recommend. You should check it out. And another, I guess I lied, I have one more I have one more book to talk about. I keep looking down and looking at my Goodreads list of books that are, because I can't remember everything. So this one is Your Dad Stole My Rake and Other Family Dilemmas by Tom Papa. Now, Tom Papa is a comedian. You might be familiar with him. He's done some Netflix specials and, of course, toured all over the country. He's written a number of books, and he hosts a podcast that you can follow on YouTube, among other places, I'm sure. This is about his family growing up in New Jersey. He's from a large Italian family, and just funny stuff like how your grandpa behaves. I find him to be very funny. Obviously, that varies by person to person. He's not ribald. It's not anything that you would feel weird about playing if your kid was in the room. So like that kind of comedy, kind of observational, just very funny. That's a very awkward description of something that I find very funny, but I enjoy it. If you want a lighthearted read, I would check it out. I hope you've enjoyed hearing what I've been reading. I also hope that anytime I criticize a book, you don't take that as something that keeps you from reading the book if you're interested. I'm hopeful I'm giving enough information that you might decide maybe that's not for me right now, or clearly Anne doesn't know what she's talking about. That sounds exactly like what I'd enjoy. Great. Everybody has different tastes. Everybody has different tastes at different points, too. Sometimes I can sit down and read a biography that thick about, I don't know, U.S. Grant or someone, and other times I'm like, no thank you. If there are more than 5 words in this comic strip, I don't have time for that right now. So really just a taste of what I've been reading. I hope it's interesting to you. I'm very curious what everyone else has been reading. It's always fun to hear what someone has enjoyed. So thank you for joining me. I hope this was at least entertaining, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.